Hello, I'm Michaela Chavez and I will be doing my project on Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin was born on February 12th, 1809. He also has the same birthday as Abraham Lincoln. He is known for his theory of natural selection. He also waited 20 years to publish his theory on natural selection. He did attend Cambridge University as well as Edinburgh Medical School in 1825. He earned a bachelor's degree of art at Cambridge in 1831. He did go to medical school for 2 years before dropping out. His father wanted him to be a doctor, but he did not. In 1831, Darwin started his voyage on the HMS Beagle. He was employed as a naturalist, and while there, he explored Brazil, Argentina, Chile, even the Galapagos, and spent a lot of his time collecting samples, rocks, plants, animals, fossils, and he ended up sharing his work with a lot of paleontologists and geologists, and this made him question how species developed over time, in turn giving him the insight to natural selection. And I do have a picture of the voyage of the HMS Beagle and kind of where all they went. These are some random facts that I found interesting about Charles Darwin. He compiled a pros and cons list on whether to marry. This list included things such as constant companionship, admirement. He did end up marrying his first cousin. I'm not sure if a con on that list was the fact that they were related, but who knows. He dined on a lot of exotic animals such as armadillo, ostrich, puma, but he did refuse to eat owl. He appeared on the 10-pound note for 18 years. In 2000, Darwin and the HMS Beagle appeared on the 10-pound note, but it was discontinued in 2018. So this is Darwin's theory of evolution, and kind of one of the famous pictures of how evolution began. In the theory of natural selection, organisms produce more offspring to be able to survive in our environment. They were to produce stronger offspring and more developed offspring to ensure the survival of the species. So I have 4 points of Darwin's theory of evolution. Individuals of a species are not identical. And then traits are passed from generation to generation, once again to ensure our survival. We continue to reproduce and continue to have more offspring so that we can ensure our survival. And even now, that's more of a natural instinct that we have. Only survivors will compete for resources. It started talk of survival of the fittest, but that was not from Charles Darwin. It showed how we continue to grow and that the weaker species could no longer survive. So this is kind of how natural selection and psychology ended up playing hand in hand, how it came into how we view natural selection in our minds. Natural selection and sexual selection were compared side by side. It's a theory that we choose in our minds to reproduce with certain people to create stronger species. A lot of Darwin's theories are studied in psychology, that we are primally and instinctually going to create stronger offspring to ensure survival. And Darwin's theories set up many conversations in the human mind of psychology. Even today, we still use evolution and natural selection to theorize how we continue to reproduce and why we continue to reproduce. So this is one of the famous quotes from Charles Darwin. It's not the strongest of the species that survives, not the most intelligent that survives, that it's the one that is most adaptable to change. And Charles Darwin believed that we were evolving and making our species smarter and more adaptable, and that we were able to be better than what came before us. And it had nothing to do with the strongest survive, but the smartest and the most adaptable, the most willing to be able to change. So in Darwin's downfall, he suffered from chronic illness. It wasn't necessarily discovered or found out what he died from, but a lot of people say during his travels he contracted a parasite that ended his life. He began to suffer from exhaustion, spouts of nausea, headaches, heart palpitations that he would end up having for the rest of his life. Charles Darwin passed away on April 19th, 1882. His friends and colleagues wanted him to be buried with the highest honor and not in a local graveyard like his parents wanted. Or his family, not his parents, but his family. And so he was buried next to fellow scientists, such as Isaac Newton, if I'm saying this right, John Herschel, and he was buried in Westminster Abbey. And this is a picture of Westminster Abbey and how beautiful it is. And then here I do have all of my citations from where I found all of my research, And yeah, so that is my presentation on Charles Darwin. I hope you enjoyed it.